Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Superheroes, Movies, and Superhero Movies. I'm Justin Speck.
I'm John Pelzel.
And today we're talking about Jurassic Park III. Released in 2001, directed by Joe Johnston, written by Peter Buckman and Alexander Payne and Jim Taylor. I almost said Alexander Taylor. That would have been wrong. Starring Sam Neill, William H. Macy, Téa Leoni, Alessandro Nivola, Trevor Morgan, Michael Jeter, and a couple other folks. This was obviously the third entry of the Jurassic Park films, which we now have 5. I saw this in the theater, John. And back when I saw it in the theater, back 20 years ago, this movie's now 20 years old, I used to get irrationally angry when a movie I wanted to see, someone would tell me their opinion about that movie before I got the chance to see it. So whether it was good or bad, somebody could have come to me and said, a movie was amazing, and I still would have gotten upset because I didn't want to know what anybody else thought about it. I don't think Rotten Tomatoes was a thing yet. If it was, I didn't know about it. Somebody told me that it sucked before I got to see it, and I got all mad at them. And then I went and saw it, and then I said, yeah, they're right. Did you see this in the theater?
No, and what's interesting is I don't remember the first time I saw this movie. I don't think I saw this movie until after I got married, I think. Which would have been 4 or 5 years after it was released.
Right.
So I don't know why, unless I'm wrong about that, but I definitely did not see it in the theater. And I don't know if... I'm trying to think. Was Rotten Tomatoes a thing then?
It might have been. I just don't know if I knew about it. It's not. It wasn't as big as it is now. That's for sure. But I don't know if when Rotten Tomatoes actually kind of started the website.
I don't think if it was out, I don't think I was using it. So I don't know what would have deterred me from seeing it because it was Jurassic Park.
Well, it could have been just, I feel like before the internet, you just got whatever your local paper said, and maybe whatever Roger Ebert said, Siskel and Ebert or whatever. So maybe you just saw a couple of bad reviews or whatever.
It could have also been my feelings about
The Lost World.
The Lost World.
Yeah, that's true too. And I think that's why I
was probably like, I can't do the heartbreak twice.
Just can't do it. I went in excited about it because I obviously like The Lost World. And it was Jurassic Park, and so I was like, yeah, I can't wait to see Jurassic Park 3, even though I knew it wasn't directed by Spielberg this time.
He is an executive producer.
He is a producer on it, but yeah, and actually this movie, Joe Johnston has directed some good movies, but this movie was the main reason why I was nervous when they announced that he was going to direct Captain America. Because I was like, well, he's kind of hit or miss. But he did a great job with Captain America. And he directed The Rocketeer, I believe, which I really, I love that movie. I haven't seen that in a long time. I don't know how well it holds up anymore.
That's on our list, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. That would be on it. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be a fun one to do. But this movie, I don't remember if I hated it walking out of the theater, but I remember not really liking it. Watching it today, I'm actually... So, our friend Stu, he and I were talking about how we kind of rank the Jurassic Park movies, and before I watched this today, in my opinion, it would go Jurassic Park, The Lost World for me, then Jurassic World, then Jurassic Park 3, then Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. I think I need to rewatch Fallen Kingdom, because this might be worse than Fallen Kingdom, in my opinion. I think this movie's bad.
Okay.
That's just my opinion. Well, we can obviously get into that, but I don't know. What did you think watching it this time? How did you feel about it?
I used to hate this movie.
Yeah.
I used to think it was awful. And I've only seen this movie maybe twice. This was, I think, the third time I've seen it. And it's not a good movie, but I don't think it's awful.
Right.
One of the things I remembered really thinking just threw me off the first time I watched it was very early on in the movie. We'll get to that. Well, I'll go ahead and bring it up. It's the plane crash.
Right, yeah.
And like when it starts getting ripped in half and they fall, and I remember just that shot of them falling, like I thought it looked so cheesy and bad. And then, you see the shot of this, is it a Spinosaurus?
Yeah.
Like his arms, like going over and rolling it, and I was
Right.
just like, oh. It didn't bother me too bad this time,
As
honestly.
much. It still bothered me pretty badly. I think the biggest, I mean, and I know this is, I don't know, this could just be my opinion, but like I feel like the movie's biggest sin is making the Spinosaurus the big bad dinosaur of the movie. I mean, like and I understand, and that's part of the problem with the Jurassic World movies too, in my opinion. Is like we saw the T-Rex in the first one, then we saw 2 T-Rexes in the second one. So what are they going to do in the third one? Are they going to have a third T-Rex? It's like they had to do something else. So I understand it. And I think the Spinosaurus, I mean, if I remember correctly, reading about the movie back in the day, it's like I think the Spinosaurus was like had just been discovered like a couple years before.
I think you might be right.
And so they decided to put it into this movie. I just don't like the dinosaur that much. I don't think he looks as scary as like the T-Rex. When they killed the T-Rex off, I remember being pissed about that in the movie theater. I just remember thinking, I don't know, it's just like I'm Team T-Rex, I guess. So like I just remember thinking like, oh, really? That dinosaur killed it? The other problem I have, and they tried to cover this with a line of dialogue, because when they realize that it's a Spinosaurus, I think Billy says, like, I don't remember seeing that on InGen's list or something. And Alan's like, it wasn't, which makes you wonder what else they were trying to hide or something like that. And I have a problem with this big, giant dinosaur who's like the king of the jungle, basically, not even appearing in the Lost World. So like, where was he the entire time? All of these people were on the island.
Yeah, that's true.
With these 2 T-Rexes and everything.
Well, that wasn't that Isla Nublar?
So Isla Sorna is the
This
island
one.
that Lost World is, and this movie.
Oh, okay.
Because that's what Alan Grant says in this movie. He goes, I've never been on this island. I've only been on Isla Nublar.
Right.
I have not been here. Only, Malcolm had been there, but not Grant.
Right. Okay. No, then yeah, no, that's right. So obviously one of the exciting things about this movie for people that before it was coming out was that Sam Neill was going to be back.
Right, which is cool. I do like that Alan Grant is in this movie.
What do you think of his performance?
I think he actually does a pretty good job. I think Sam Neill's probably, I don't think I've ever really seen a bad Sam Neill performance, really. I think he does a good job. He takes it seriously and he performs it well. I just don't think the rest of the movie is all that great. It's like he's a good actor in a bad movie, and same thing with William H. Macy. William H. Macy's a terrific actor, and he's just not in a great movie.
But he's not bad either in this.
No, he's not. He's not. In fact, I kind of like his character where he presents himself as this kind of millionaire guy, Kirby Enterprises, and then you find out he has like a paint and tile store or something in Oklahoma, So I think that was kind of clever. There are elements to this movie I like.
Well, it was funny because after he reveals that, like Alan Grant's like, oh, great, now we're not getting paid, and I was like, you flew all the way here without trying to cash,
without cashing the check. Yeah, just taking it on faith. William H. Macy writes a check, and he's like, here you go, but you don't cash it until the 12th, please.
He's like, I can write whatever you want. As many zeros. He doesn't say that. I was kind of expecting, how many zeros do you want?
Right.
Of course, then Alan Grant would have been like, let's do 10.
Let's do 10 zeros. I think the movie actually is pretty good from a certain moment to almost the end of the movie. And it's when they are, and I'm going to pronounce this wrong, it's basically, they're not pterodactyls, they're pteranodons or something.
Mm-hmm.
But from that birdcage scene to the end of the movie, I think those scenes are pretty good. I actually remember liking, for the most part, the pteranodon scene.
Wait, really? You talking about
I don't like
when Ben like parachutes over.
Billy. Yeah.
Oh, that's
I
yeah,
was
Billy.
gonna say I don't like that part. I don't like that because the other thing I don't like about that is
That was
you know
so
the
bad.
kid gets picked up by the dinosaur and he gets dropped by the nest. By the way, there's a human skull by that nest. And so it's like a pteranodon had already like fed a human to these little baby pteranodons, I guess.
Well,
or
here's a
something.
question. Yeah, I got you. Okay, right.
And I don't know who that would have been.
I was going to say who is it, but they did have
There were
facilities and
workers
stuff on
and
there.
stuff there, yeah. But it doesn't seem like he picked him up and flew him down far enough for Billy to basically base jump from where they were down to where Eric is. Actually, is the name of the kid.
Yeah.
So that scene is cheesy. I don't like that scene.
Yeah, and he's, hopping across the different, like, plateaus.
Yeah, that's true. And that looks bad. That looks terrible.
Yeah.
I think I just like the them crossing the bridge in the mist and they can't see the other end. And then that when you first see the Pteranodon, he's just kind of walking on the bridge.
It's pretty creepy.
That part was kind of cool.
Yeah.
And I even kind of like the Spinosaurus attack when they're on the boat. Even though I really don't think, even though I appreciate the fact that they used a mix of practical and CG, neither of them look as good as Jurassic Park 1.
The CGI
is
pretty bad.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're right. Agreed. Let's
Back
go.
up.
Yeah, let's go to the beginning of the movie.
Sure.
You've got the scene where Eric is flying, or they're
parasailing.
with Ben.
And the CG's not good on that either.
No.
Like that was my first notice right away. The CG in this movie is worse than the previous two, with them obviously on like a green screen or something, parasailing.
Right. And then we cut to Dr. Grant with what's his name, Charlie? Yeah,
Charlie's the little boy, yeah, and Ellie's little boy, which I remember that making me sad when I saw it the first time, that Alan and Ellie were no longer, worked together.
Yeah, I think it was supposed to,
Sure,
because you see them first,
right,
and then they
have a kid together.
She
and then
takes Charlie.
It's not his.
So that was intended, but like I don't know, some of Grant's he just seemed in the beginning of the movie to me to be kind of like John Hammond was in Lost World.
Mm-hmm.
It was like he later, after he does his little seminar thing, he makes that comment, no force on Earth could get me to go back to that island.
Right.
But right before he says that, everything that he's saying about dinosaurs, he's like excited.
Mm-hmm.
He's playing dinosaurs with Charlie, and he's like, they rip their throats out, and I'm
right.
Like, you should be traumatized. Like,
yeah, that's true.
Way more than he puts on the traumatized later, but I don't know.
It's very true. You'd think, even though he's a paleontologist, you would think that he almost would not be as interested in dinosaurs anymore because of how.
And even Eric makes a comment about it later, because he's like, I read both your books, which is kind of a throwback to
Tim in the
to
first
Tim
movie.
saying, I read your book. But he's like, I liked your first one better because you liked dinosaurs then. So he references that in the second book, Grant's not, doesn't apparently like dinosaurs. But like I said, the first two scenes you see with Grant, it seems like he's still invested in the whole.
Still very passionate about it.
Yeah.
And I did like, actually, in the lecture scene, how he talks about that one guy asks, if you really, want to study dinosaurs, why don't you just go to that island or why doesn't the Costa Rican government let people on that island so they can study dinosaurs? And he's like, those creatures on the island aren't dinosaurs. They're genetically engineered monsters, basically, So I like that he, in his brain, those are not dinosaurs.
True.
And the fossil, everything we've been studying over here, these are dinosaurs. Those things are just creations from a mad scientist. So I kind of like that aspect of it. And maybe that's what he's told himself in order to kind of make himself get more excited about the profession again.
Right.
But yeah, but I agree with you. I do think there would be more trauma. There would be, it almost should seem like Charlie should be playing with the dinosaurs, and he should be like wanting Charlie to stop playing with dinosaurs. Not showing him like these
guys
would actually fight each other. Right?
Stay away from those.
Right? No, he just like slaps him out of his.
Ellie, your son is playing with dinosaurs. He slaps him out of his ass.
The camera like zooms in on Alan's face. He's like, flashback to him on the island. Yeah.
The other thing during that scene is after he's done, they try to make it awkward, right? Like no one claps,
right?
And then the professor, whoever it is, that the lady off to the side, I'm guessing she's the one that invited him and to come speak. And then she, after about 2 or 3 seconds, starts to slow clap to get people to clap.
Get people to clap.
And then everyone else starts clapping. And then she goes, "Any questions?" And everyone in the room raises their hand. So they were listening directed. And they were interested, but they're not going to clap for it. It didn't make sense to me. These are little tiny things.
I didn't pick up on that, but that's true. That is a weird way to do that scene. You would think it would be
they'd at least clap if they're going to.
Yeah, everybody would at least clap for him and then raise their hand. Yeah, I did like the one little bit of that scene I do like is everybody raises their hands and he says, "Anybody in here?" Yeah. Not have a question not related to Jurassic Park, and like 90% of the room puts their hand down. I think that's pretty good.
Or San Francisco, where
he goes, which I did not witness.
I did not witness.
Yeah.
So after that we've got the deceiving scene with
William H. Macy and Taylor Leone. Yep.
And they write him the check, and he goes.
Basically gets him the same way John Hammond did. Because, I mean, even in the first movie, he's like, well, we can't. We just dug up a new fossil. We can't leave. And he's like, I'll fully fund your dig for the next 3 years. And that's pretty much the exact way William H. Macy gets him. He's like, well, I'm willing to fund whatever. I can't remember exactly what William H. Macy offered him, but he basically offered him money, and Alan felt like he couldn't pass it up.
Right.
And so
What's the title of the new Jurassic World?
Dominion.
Dominion?
Yeah, Jurassic World Dominion.
I hope in Dominion they offer Alan Grant another big check. Of course he can't turn it down.
Right. That's his weakness, apparently. It's just money.
They're like, there are 5,000 velociraptors on this island, but...
He's like, I don't care. You're giving me money, I'll go. No, but I do because I do remember thinking, because I forgot, it's been a while since I had seen this movie, and so I forgot how they got him to the island. And so I actually liked that they told him that they weren't going to land, they were just going to fly over the island, and he was going to point out dinosaurs. And so it is actually kind of a somewhat humorous scene when he's like actually trying to be the tour guide, and he's like, if you look to your left, you'll see a herd of Brachiosaurus, and they're all going, do you see anything? Not yet. And he's like, what? Well, if you look to your left, he's like, look right here. There are dinosaurs. I kind of like that moment. But then, of course, they talk about landing, and he's like, you can't land, and he gets knocked out by
by Cooper.
By Cooper, that's right. By Cooper, who was going to be like, I liked how they set him up to be like this big tough guy character, even though they didn't get like a whole lot of build up.
He's like.
But then he immediately is he's the first one to die. Actually, they get out the plane, then they immediately that's supposed to be kind of a joke, they get off the plane and then they immediately start running back, and they're like, we gotta go. And Cooper is kind of left behind, and he runs out into the runway, and he's like already bloodied, and he's basically crying, like asking the plane to stop. And that's the first time we see our first glimpse of the Spinosaurus. Right, that's when the Spinosaurus comes out and.
Right.
Snatches him
Which I kind of liked that being the reason that they crash.
Right.
I remember thinking, because at first I was like, I don't know if I like that. But then I was like, you know what? He was running from the dinosaur, and the dinosaur just caught up to him.
Right.
And then because of that,
the plane.
Yeah, the plane had to, lost control.
Yeah.
Blood. I kind of liked the blood going all over
on the windshield.
Yeah, that was kind of cool. And then you have that scene where they crash, and it falls apart. Like I was saying, that's really the one scene that when I would think of Jurassic Park, only having seen it twice, I would always think of that airplane just kind of ripping and...
Right. We forgot a big moment, though. We got to go back. And it's such a small little thing, but I hate it. I hate it. I hate it.
Okay.
It's when Alan Grant falls asleep, and you see the Velociraptor turn to him and go, "Alan!" And he wakes up from his dream. God, I hate that moment. I hate it. It's so bad.
It's funny because I actually knew that. Because when I saw that, and I forgot about it, and when I saw that, I was like, oh yeah, Justin has said something about that. See, I don't think he likes it. I didn't mind it, actually, because he looks, and there's no one in the plane, or there's like no pilot. Right,
yeah, he wakes up, and there's nobody around.
And you hear his name first. And
you do.
The Velociraptor doesn't, it's kind of like it's opening its mouth as Alan's coming out, and but it's not like the mouth was...
It doesn't go up and down. It's not like a puppet. Alan. It
just
goes, Alan. Yeah.
Can you imagine? Alan.
Have you ever, you know the YouTube channel Honest Trailers, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's you should watch the Honest trailer for Jurassic Park 3, because they just put that one part throughout the entire trailer. So it'll be like, they'll show a clip, and then all of a sudden it'll just go, Alan, with the Velociraptor.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. I don't like that. I hate that moment. I think it's just cheesy.
At least it was a dream. Can you?
At least, yes. Well, thank God. Yeah. They do set up the Velociraptors in the beginning of the movie to talk, basically. And that's another moment where you're talking, like, he should be traumatized by Velociraptors. And yet he's so fascinated by the fact that they can talk. And he even says to Ellie, remember the sounds they make? So it does seem like he's not super traumatized by it. He's very still intrigued by them, even though he will never go back to an island with those dinosaurs.
Right.
And I like Ellie's response to that. He's like, he says, do you remember the sounds they make? And she goes, I try not to.
Mm-hmm.
She's still traumatized by it.
Right.
Whereas he has kind of moved on a little bit. And that's the other thing I think I don't like about this movie, is that they set up the raptors as being intelligent in the first movie and in the second movie. They turned them into like super intelligent beings in this movie.
Yes. They're looking for their eggs.
Yes. They're talking to each other.
Yeah. Calling for help. Yeah, I agree. I didn't like the Velociraptors in this really at all.
And they kind of changed the design of them.
Yeah.
Like a couple of them have like the weird feather thing.
Yeah, I was going to say that because I think... Yeah, obviously, after Jurassic Park came out, I don't remember if it was after Lost World, but I guess the interest in dinosaurs
probably went up. Yeah,
erupted.
Sure. Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, they had feathers.
Right.
So I believe, that most likely in Jurassic Park 3, they're like, oh, let's try to make them more accurate.
Probably.
Which
even
was
though
dumb.
It was super dumb, especially because I believe the Velociraptors that are in the Jurassic Park movies are like nothing like what Velociraptors apparently were.
They're not that big,
right?
They're pretty small to my understanding. And anyway, I like how Jurassic World they went back to.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, so I don't. Yeah, the raptors in this movie are not very good, which is kind of sad to say because the Velociraptors
they're a huge part.
Yeah, they're a huge part of the franchise, and to kind of ruin them like this, yeah, it's not cool.
So my least favorite moment is shortly after kind of where we are talking, and that is when Alan is surrounded by the Velociraptors, and then the smoke grenades come out.
Right.
And then this weird jungle child comes running and grabs Alan Grant.
Yes.
Yes. I wrote down a note for that. And it is when Eric saves Grant with leaves on, I immediately wanted to turn off the movie.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I don't blame you.
When I saw that, I was just like, because like I said, I wasn't like, it obviously wasn't a good movie, but I wasn't like hating it like I felt like I had before.
Right.
And then when I saw that, I was like, oh, here we go. I have a couple other notes that I actually wrote before that. There's a moment where they're...
This is the movie I was thinking. I think I may have even mentioned this in Aliens. I had to look up. I was like, I couldn't remember exactly what the movie was, and so I went back through our old episodes just now, and it was Aliens. Because Newt is like living on her own in Aliens, and it works completely. It makes sense. This movie, it feels so unrealistic that this kid would actually survive for 8 weeks on this island.
Well, the fact that, I mean, his first appearance since his disappearance in the beginning of the movie, he's got just this, camouflage costume that he's
wearing leaves. Yeah, exactly. And he's got like bottles of T-Rex pee in his.
Yes,
it's just.
He's like, "How did you get this?" He's like, "You don't want to know." Yeah, it was rough.
Yeah,
that was when I was starting to be like, okay, this is why I remember hating this movie. There's a scene where they're running from the Velociraptors as a group, and it's before Eric saves Grant.
Right.
It's probably right before this, and Grant yells, "Into the herd!" I guess to lose the Velociraptors.
Right.
And them running into the herd, because there's like a herd of dinosaurs, freaks them out and startles them, and they start running. Mm-hmm. But then, as they've started to stampede, there's all these dinosaurs behind them that are just running, and that's the other, why would you run into a herd of
giant dinosaurs,
that are larger than elephants and run with them that was one of the dumbest.
Yes,
it's bad.
You would think a paleontologist would know better, but
yes. So they all nearly die. Somehow, all of them end up surviving and not getting
somehow. Well, everybody except the mercenary guys that they hired to bring onto the island to kill dinosaurs, they all get killed.
Right, but not in the stampede. I'm just saying.
No, yes, that's correct.
Yes,
stampede, you're right. They all survived the stampede.
They all survived the stampede. And then another thing I wrote that happened before that was when they found the facility and they find the vending machines, and Billy just karate kicks through, which was dumb. But then they just start eating the food that God knows how long that food has been. When was the last time someone was on this island?
Right. I would have had to. I mean, yeah. When was the last time that machine was stocked? Because even though Malcolm and them were on the island, let's say 4 years before, it
was abandoned.
Right. Yeah. That food would be nasty. But I guess if you're starving and you don't have any food, you do what you had to do. But
they weren't starving. They had been on the island.
I know. They were there for like a day. I know. It was nothing. But you're absolutely right. Although I still kind of, even though it's not like the world's greatest joke or anything. I like that William H. Macy's counting quarters. He's like, I got $1.25. Yeah. Anybody else got any? And then Billy just kicks it and breaks the glass.
He should have come out with a bloody leg. I do like how William H. Macy tries to kick it though, and doesn't work, and then he kind of slightly limps away. He's trying to hide it, but he's got a limp. That was good.
That actually would have been great if Billy had sliced open his leg, and then they had to carry Billy the rest of the movie because he broke into the vending machine.
William H. Macy's like, I got $1.50, and then Billy kicks it and just goes, "Oh God! Why did I do that? Oh God!"
That'd have been great. I actually, skipping ahead to the very end here, I actually totally forgot that Billy lives. I thought, I could have sworn he died. He got killed in the whole pterodactyl scene. Say what?
It looked like it. It looked like
it. Yeah,
it looked like
it. Too. And I guess I just completely, blocked it from my memory that he
there were
survived.
Literally two, what are they, pteranodons?
Yeah, pteranodons, I think.
There are literally two of them, attacking him as he's
Yeah.
So I guess they gave up and said, you know what? You're
Too much work. Too much work.
By the way, we haven't pointed out you're wearing a Jurassic Park shirt.
I am wearing a Jurassic Park shirt. I figured it was appropriate.
And I am too.
Nice. Oh, yeah.
I've got,
very nice.
We got Malcolm here. He's actually laying down with his shirt open like he's in the movie, but he's smiling.
In front of the Velociraptor.
The Velociraptor. So the T-Rex is in front of him, so the T-Rex,
Well, Malcolm sat there very still, and the T-Rex walked right by, didn't see him, and he's running after the people who are running. That makes sense.
They actually reference that in this movie, too, like when the T-Rex comes.
Yeah, and he's like,
Grant's
nobody move a muscle.
Move. And then everyone runs.
Yeah. And then Alan runs, but I guess it's because he knows the T-Rex is about to chase after them, and he might get trampled if he stays where he is, I guess. I always thought that was kind of weird. He's like, nobody move a muscle. Everybody runs, and he just kind of is like,
yeah.
And then runs after them. And you're like, well, if you stay still, he's not going to see you. But I guess he just figures either, number one, he doesn't want to be separated from the group, or number two, the T-Rex may trample him if he stays where he is. That's pretty early on. That's when the T-Rex gets killed, because that's right. They're running away from the Spinosaurus, and then they run into
and that's
the T-Rex.
The only time we see a T-Rex, isn't it?
That is the only time, yeah. And then the T-Rex gets murdered, and that's it. Then it's the Spinosaurus for the whole rest of the movie, basically. I mean, there's the Pteranodon scene, and there's a couple of Velociraptor scenes, but like that Spinosaurus is like has it out for this group of people. Like he's just constantly hunting them down. There's a couple of inconsistencies too, I feel like. Like there's the one scene where Eric finally kind of reunites with his mom and dad, William H. Macy and Tay Leone, but they're like on opposite sides of the fence,
Mm-hmm.
And then they hear the satellite phone ringing. And actually that's why Eric started running. And actually I think that's why William H. Macy started running. He heard the satellite phone too. Or maybe he heard Eric yelling. But anyway, they come and then they hear the ringing and they're like, well, I don't have my phone. Who has my phone? And they turn around and the Spinosaurus is just standing there. Which I thought it's a kind of a cool shot, but it's kind of ridiculous that
it's not feasible at all. That thing would have been melted by the digestive
also
juices.
The Spinosaurus, I feel like they make it a point in these movies that like when the T-Rex walks, it causes tremors.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I got you. Yeah.
And
in fact, they open up the movie like that on Universal.
Yeah, which actually was kind of cool. Yeah,
I agree. I was like, oh, okay. Too bad the movie sucks.
Right, exactly. But anyway, so the Spinosaurus is bigger than the T-Rex, and he is able to sneak up on these people. You'd think they would feel it, but I can forgive that because they did pretty much the exact same thing at the end of Jurassic Park 1. When they're surrounded by the Velociraptors. Although, I mean, they're in a stressful situation, so maybe they didn't notice it. But then the T-Rex comes out of nowhere, so the T-Rex kind of sneaks up on them too. But anyway, the point of that scene is they kind of get through the fence. And the Spinosaurus just breaks through that metal, steel fence as if it's nothing. And then when they barricade themselves into like a building, he's like, "Oh, I can't get through this."
Right.
You would they made him really powerful in some scenes and then weak where they needed him to be. It's just I don't know. It seems like poor writing in my opinion.
Right. And speaking of the phone ringing inside the Spinosaurus, after he relieves himself,
right?
It's still working.
Yep. And they have to dig out and get it, and then they still and it works after all that too. He still is able to call Ellie, and that's how they actually are saved because he calls Ellie. Actually, Charlie answers the phone. I did like that where Charlie gets distracted by Barney and is like watching TV and like dancing, and then he like looks at the phone. And he's like, "Oh yeah, gotta go tell my mom."
I liked that too. I thought that was funny because it's Barney the dinosaur,
right? Yeah.
There is a moment that was also kind of dumb, which is when they're floating, or they're like, when they're on that boat going down, and then they try to do a Jurassic Park moment where, you see the Brachiosauruses, Ankylosauruses. Isn't that what they're called?
It sounds right.
I think that's how you say it. It's not Ankylosaurus. It's Ankylosaurus, I think. Anyway. And, they're doing the music of, let's admire the dinosaurs. And they're all standing on the boat, and I think they're making comments like, see, not all dinosaurs are bad.
Right.
But after what they just went through, especially, like, what's the mom's name?
I don't know. Tay Leone is the actress.
Right.
I forget what her character name is.
And anyway, like, they should be freaking out.
Amanda.
Right. And what's William H. Macy's name?
I just remember Kirby because he was Mr. Kirby.
Well, that was his last name. Yeah,
Paul Kirby.
That's right, Paul. Anyway, just because of they would be freaking out about any dinosaur, and they're literally right there on the shore, right next to them, and they're admiring them. And then there's a shot of like 3. It's a really weird shot. I hate it probably about as much as you and
the Allen scene.
Yes, because there's like 3 Brachiosaurus heads, and they're just like moving closer and closer, and then it just fades away. But I remember thinking, they're very confident that these dinosaurs are not going to bother them.
Right. I would be. I mean, it's like I'm trying to think of like a large animal that doesn't typically, is considered like an herbivore. I don't know, like hippopotamus or something, Like if hippopotamus started coming towards me.
Hippopotamuses are actually one of the most dangerous animals on the planet.
That's very true. I know. Maybe I shouldn't use the hippopotamus.
How about a giraffe? It's got the long neck.
That's true. If a giraffe started like coming towards me, I'd probably be like, I'm gonna go this way because, I mean, there's still big animals that could cause harm. You know what I mean?
Right.
Have you ever seen a video of a giraffe like snapping its neck like and hitting another animal and stuff? I wouldn't want to mess with that.
Ooh, yeah, no kidding. Or like dinosaurs. We know giraffes don't eat people,
right?
But we've never lived with dinosaurs, and neither have these people, and we've just been told. So after being chased by velociraptors and a Spinosaurus and a T-Rex, I would be like, those guys, they say they don't eat people, but they might.
I'm not taking any chances here. Yeah, exactly. I'm going to get out of here. Yeah, no, I'd be in. I agree with you 100%. I would not be like, oh, look at the Brachiosaurus. Yeah. Oh, they're getting closer.
And they did it again at the end of the movie with the pteranodons like flying away, and they're all like, oh, look, there they go. They tried to eat us.
They're following us.
I wish they just started attacking the helicopters.
You see the helicopter start going down, and then it just fades to black. Dun 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 dun. I don't. Even though it's John Williams' music, it's like his themes and stuff.
Right.
I don't really like the music in this movie. It's like, especially at the end when they get to the beach, and you see like the military showing up. It's the Jurassic Park theme, but it's like really sped up, and it doesn't sound good sped up like that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I didn't really care for the music in this movie, which is crazy because the music was done by Don Davis, who is the composer of the Matrix score from the first, all the first 3 Matrixes, and that music is.
That's interesting because I actually heard there was one moment where I heard some horns, and I remember thinking, "Ooh, that was almost Matrixy." Well, I didn't know that he did the music for Matrix.
I guess he did the Matrix before this movie, but he's I would consider the Matrix a great scorer, but I don't know. I didn't care for the music very much in this movie.
I find that interesting because I remember hearing parts of the score too and thinking, "Did John Williams do this?" Because there were several parts of the music where I was like, that sounds John Williams-y, and and that's not from, that's not a part from, to my knowledge, from the original movie or Lost World, because he did Lost World too, I'm sure, right?
He did, he did. Maybe I'm being too harsh on it because I just dislike the movie so much, so my dislike for the movie is going into the music. I've always thought about buying the score. It's like the one Jurassic Park score I don't own. So maybe if I just listened to the music by itself, maybe I'd appreciate it more. But I don't know. I just remember watching it this time, that I was like, I don't love this music.
Mm-hmm.
Even though it is the Jurassic Park theme, which I do love. I don't know.
We've, I think, talked about most of the movie.
Yeah, I think we have too.
It's a short movie.
It actually is a short movie, even though I paused it at one point thinking, like, I've got to be almost done with this movie. And I was only halfway through, and I said, wow, for a 92-minute movie, this is feels a little long.
I think the only thing we haven't really talked about is, we went over a little... Yeah, we talked about the Pteranodon scene where they're, like, how it just didn't, there was some cheesy effects and stuff in that. But we haven't talked really about the last Spinosaurus boat scene.
Right.
which I don't like.
Yeah.
It's okay.
I like elements of it.
So the thing that I realized, one of the reasons I really just didn't like it was me being picky. But then I realized I can't be because they technically do it in Jurassic Park also. And that is, it would be pitch black. And there's so much light everywhere. They're literally able to, like, there are so many moments where they're under the water. Like, Alan finds, the flare gun. Like, he can see it underwater at nighttime. Like,
right.
There's so much light.
Yeah.
But then I was like, wait a minute. The T-Rex scene in Jurassic Park. The power was out.
Yeah, that's
They
true.
technically shouldn't have been able to really see then either. So I was like, I can't really get on to them about that.
Yeah. That's funny because that didn't really occur to me, but that's totally true. You would not be able to see nearly as much as you could.
Yeah.
I liked the I still don't think the practical Spinosaurus looks good in that scene, but I like I like when they all kind of get into the cage, which is kind of a stupid thing to do, I suppose, but they're trying to create a barrier between them and the Spinosaurus. But then that cage ends up sliding into the water, and that's like he's on the phone with Ellie, but it's going under. That was kind of that was a tense moment, and I remember thinking, like, how do they get out of that cage? And of course, the door just opens, and William H. Macy gets out. So I was like, oh, convenient. But then I do like the flare gun. I like how he shoots the flare gun at the Spinosaurus, and it causes like the gas to ignite on the water, and there's the fire and everything. And I thought that's how the Spinosaurus died, but I guess they don't actually kill that dinosaur off. He just runs off after that, and that's the last we see of him, right?
I think so.
Yeah, so they don't actually kill that dinosaur. I guess they assumed they were going to bring him back for part 4 or something, but
then they were like, "Oh, there's not a part 4.
There's not a part 4, right?" And the Spinosaurus, as far as I know, does not show up anywhere in Jurassic World or Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom.
Right.
Which is good.
I don't mind the Spinosaurus, but yeah, it's not the T-Rex.
Right. It just doesn't, I don't know, it just doesn't, it doesn't look as cool as the T-Rex. I understand it was maybe supposed to be a bigger dinosaur and everything, but like, I've never really liked it, and I hated the fact that the poster swapped out the how the Jurassic Park logo is like the T-Rex skeleton? Mm-hmm. They swapped out the T-Rex skeleton with the Spinosaurus skeleton.
Do they really? I've never
on the poster. On the
that.
Blu-ray, they swapped it back, which was smart. But on the poster, it's got like a shadow of a Pteranodon flying over the logo, but the logo is the Spinosaurus in the Jurassic Park logo.
Oh, yeah. There it is.
And I hated it. I hated the fact that they did that.
Yep, I agree. I've never picked up on that. It's probably because I have never really looked at a Jurassic Park 3 poster for longer than a second.
Right, exactly. Yeah, but like I said, they changed it. They swapped it back for the DVD, so now it's back to the T-Rex, which is good, or the Blu-ray, I should say, which is as it should be. But yeah, I don't. I think I had one other note, which was not anything important. It was about. Oh, so when they first go into, gosh, I don't remember exactly where it is in the movie. It's early on in the movie. It's before they find Eric. They're in some building, and there's like, you see kind of where they were creating the dinosaurs. You might see like some hatched eggs, and like there's the tanks and stuff.
Right, and you saw like the robotic arms.
Right.
Yeah.
Taya Leone comes up to one of the tanks, and you see a velociraptor, and it looks like the velociraptor's in the tank, but then you realize he's behind the tank. And I wrote, why was the velociraptor just standing there frozen behind the tank?
I don't remember that.
Oh my god, it's meant to be like kind of a jump scare. Like you see his eye move, and Taya Leone's like, what? And then all of a sudden he just pops out from behind the tank, and he's like, Rah! And you're supposed to be like, oh gosh. But it's just, he's sitting there with his mouth open, frozen behind the tank, because it's meant to look like he's in the tank.
Right.
And I thought, why is the raptor just, is he maybe he was entranced by something in the tank, even though I don't think there was anything in the tank. I don't know. I just remember thinking that was weird.
Yeah.
And then the other question I had, and this I have no idea. But do you think that I guess it was Téa Leoni's boyfriend? The guy
Ben.
that was parasailing
His name was
with
Ben.
Eric.
Mm.
So do you think Ben would have been that deteriorated after 8 weeks? Because when they find his body, he is like practically just a skeleton.
I don't know, actually. I mean,
8 weeks is a long time, but at the same time,
say no, but I'm not a forensic,
yeah, same here. It just seemed like it was too quick to be literally just bones. I mean, like there might have been a little bit of muscle or something on the body, but it wasn't.
Well, here's a question. Why did Eric just leave him hanging there?
That is another. Yeah, that's a great question.
I just thought of that. Like you've got the camera where they're like seeing that. Oh, they're still, they're alive, and that because they're watching the camera footage, and then Eric goes, like one of the first things he says is, "The camera's still on.
You left the camera on." For that, I'm going to leave you here to die. That is unforgivable, Ben. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, and I remember watching that video footage, and he's like, Ben says something like, "I'm going to cut you loose," and so he cuts Eric, and Eric falls. And at first, I thought he was going to fall like a real long way, but it's like 3 feet or something, and he lands on the ground.
Right.
And he's like, "Oh, you left the camera running," and he reaches up and grabs the camera. So Ben is not that far off the ground.
Right.
Eric could have found something to cut the...
Well, I mean, how did Ben cut him?
Right, yeah. Here you go, Eric. Here's my knife. Cut me down now, please. Instead, he's like, "All right, see ya." He just leaves him there to die. That's a great question. I'm really upset now that Eric just left Ben there to die.
What a horrible... Eric is the villain of the film.
Yeah, forget the Spinosaurus. It's Eric that's the problem here.
That's what happens after they're flying off in the helicopters. Eric just starts killing everyone.
That's the alternate ending where it's like, it seems like this happy thing. He's like, "Look, pteranodons." Everybody's looking at the pteranodons. You see his reflection in the window as Alan's looking out the window, and he's just like, and he just starts going to town on everybody.
He just looks at Alan and goes, "Alan."
"Alan, huh?"
Then kills him.
I liked your first book better.
Yeah, I think that's about it.
Yeah.
I thought, the Marines coming at the end was ridiculous. They're like coming out of the water. I'm like, what?
Well, especially because they've talked about at the beginning of the movie, like how Costa Rica has said it's like a no-fly zone. The U.S. Embassy's not willing to help them go find Eric. But it's like now all of a sudden the Marines and the Navy or whatever it is are showing up to say, it's like, I don't know, it just was weird. Like, oh, Alan Grant is in trouble? Send everybody.
It was because Ellie made the call, so
right, rather than Paul Kirby.
Right.
I guess. I don't know. Yeah, there's a lot of problems with this movie. I'm actually amazed because two of the writers, Alexander Payne and Jim Taylor, have made quite a few good movies. Alexander Payne directed Sideways. They both wrote that movie. He did Election and Nebraska, which was really good. And so they've made some good movies, but this one is not one of them.
Yeah.
So, same with Joe Johnston. He's made some good movies. Not this one.
Yeah. And it's a shame, that it's a Jurassic Park movie.
Right.
It really put a bad taste. Like I said, I didn't see it forever because of Lost World. And I remember when I watched it, I was like, ugh. And just, thinking they're never going to be able to come even close to the magic of the first film.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, you want to get into ratings?
Sure. You want to go first?
Sure.
All right.
I would say, I don't remember what I rated Lost World.
Yeah.
And you're going to be mad at me for saying this, but I think Lost World and Jurassic Park 3 are close to tied for me.
Wow.
And I will also say Fallen Kingdom, even though we haven't done an episode on it, is a worse movie than Jurassic Park 3.
And it very well could be. I've only seen Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom once.
Me too. So maybe I'm wrong. But I remember I left the theater of Fallen Kingdom thinking I didn't think that it could be that bad. And it's like, wow.
How is this franchise fallen this far?
Right.
Yeah, and I didn't have that feeling, but I also didn't like it. So I don't. So I would like. I might have to watch it like tomorrow or something, and so that way Jurassic Park 3 is fresh in my brain, and I can really kind of make a comparison, because it very well may be worse than this movie. But this movie I just really didn't enjoy this time around. So I don't know. To me,
I'll give it 2 Velociraptor eggs.
two Velociraptor eggs. And that's what I originally was going to... I'm really tempted to give it 1.5, but I think I'm just going to stick with 2, because there are a couple of moments that I like in the movie, and Sam Neill's good. But I don't know. Even just talking about it with you made me almost want to drop it down half an egg. So I'll stick with 2, though. So I'll give it 2 Velociraptor eggs as well.
Yeah. Speaking of Velociraptor eggs, I did want to go into the ending, how she's... Give me the eggs. Mm-hmm. And then she pushes them out. And then Alan sees that there's also the, what is it called? The,
Oh, that was I thought was kind of cool. Like, he calls it something else in the movie, but it's basically a 3D printer.
Yes.
That they used in the beginning of the movie, which I thought was kind of neat.
I agree. But I'm saying the fact that he pulls it out
he made
and then starts...
Yeah, I forget what it's like, the Velociraptor, like, vocal cords, basically.
Yeah. But then he starts talking to them through it.
Right.
And then Paul goes...
No, cry for help.
Yeah. And then he's like, oh, okay. And then, like, starts...
Oh, yeah.
Because he heard the Velociraptor calling for help when he was stuck in the cage.
Right.
And obviously memorized and...
knows exactly how to recreate
how it sounds and how to play it, yes.
First try. I didn't understand... Like, if Velociraptors are so smart, too... Wouldn't they know that the sound is coming from this guy in front of them?
Well, I think what they're doing is... Oh, God. Yes, you're right.
Because they all kind of like look up and they're like, somebody's calling for help. And they do run off. There's 2 of them that stick around and like take the eggs and basically are like, kind of side-eye the group. They're like, this, we're watching you type of thing.
To me, I was thinking like, oh... He can speak Velociraptor, so we'll cut him some slack. But yeah,
He's
you're
one
right.
of us.
They're literally going... That's why he said call for help. And they're going to go...
Rescue another Velociraptor or something.
I kind of want to knock down half of them.
Now it's 1.5. Now it's 1.5 Velociraptor eggs. Yep.
Unless there's like a deleted scene where they're like, well, we don't have a phone. Let's call for help. By using the Velociraptor cords. And they're just...
That's why the military shows up. It should have the Marines be like, hearing the call and then running to the beach.
Paul's like, well, it didn't work earlier, but try calling for help again. And that's where Alan does it. And the Velociraptor... That's how he knew how to do it. He had been practicing.
Yes.
So... That bumps it back up to 2 Velociraptor. Just kidding. 1.5 Velociraptor egg. Now that we're talking about that.
Well, as bad as the movie was, this was a fun episode to do.
Yeah.
Well, we'd love to know what you think about Jurassic Park 3. You can always leave us a comment on our website, cinemaheroes.com. You can always tweet at us or comment on our Instagram posts. Both handles are Cinema Heroes. You can leave us a comment on our Facebook page, facebook.com/SM and SM Podcast. Or if you're watching this on YouTube, we would love to for you to leave a comment. If you like this video, hit the like button, subscribe if you want to get more of these episodes. And I think that about wraps it up, though, for this episode. I'm Justin Speck.
I'm John Pelzo.
As always, thanks for listening. Thanks for subscribing.